Well, of course. I mean, I remember the first time I came across this sort of defensiveness was actually in breast surgery. I was a medical student, and the professor at the university was well renowned for being the radical mastectomy king. He removed the old breasts and everything he could find that could be removed in all directions, leaving women horribly mutilated and edema in their arms and everything. And I read an article, I think it was the BMJ, and it said that this doctor in Holland had tried less radical surgery, and the results were of survival and whatever were as good, and the damage and the mutilation was far less, and therefore it seemed to be a good idea. And I mentioned this paper to this professor in a kind of grand round, and basically he went completely apeshit and stripped me to shreds in front of about 30 other doctors and tried to humiliate and crush me. And I thought, oh well, I thought I won't be doing that again. But clearly, I mean, this is what he did. This was his job, and then I'm saying you shouldn't be doing it. And what you're saying to him is, you've been mutilating women for 30 years of your life unnecessarily. He's not going to immediately welcome you with open arms. So, it's not just a money thing here. There's a gigantic sort of, oh my God, how dare you even suggest that I have been doing stupid things and damaging people? Well, it's not going to go down well, is it? So these are not people that are ever going to change their minds. You have to start the changing of minds elsewhere, because other people may be more open. It's not so important to them, so they're more open to seeing the facts, if you like.
Right. Well, I always go back to the story back in the late 1800s, I believe, maybe mid 1800s, when a medical student dared to question that doctors were killing their patients because they weren't washing their hands.
Yeah. And
he got blackballed. And
that was
look at it.
I know. The famous Hungarian Semmelweis, 1840. Yes, because you're not going to... And this is a huge problem, is that the people that are in the positions of power and authority are the people who stand to lose the greatest amount if this stuff is proven to be bullshit. Well, it has been proven to be bullshit. But, and therefore, your average person on the street goes, well, this professor of this and the American Society of that and the European Society of this, and they all say the same thing. And you, who the hell are you? Who the hell are you? You're a GP. You're a family physician. What do you know about cardiology? Well, actually, he says, I sometimes think to myself, though I rarely say it, I've forgotten more about cardiology than you will ever know. Well, I do know quite a lot about it, actually. But, people don't appreciate it when you tell them that they're being stupid, I find. So you just have to laugh a bit and go,
that's right.
It's eminence-based medicine we're suffering from, isn't it? That
right.
I am eminent and you are not, and so therefore you're wrong.
And if there's anything the last 3 years have taught us, that's completely what it's been. Is nobody's an expert. There's only a few experts at the top, and if you don't listen to them, then you're crazy.
Yes.
And you're a conspiracy theorist. If we can take anything away from the last 3 years, we can definitely take that away.
Yeah. Well, I would send you to look. There's an article that the man who, more than anyone, was responsible for bringing evidence-based medicine into the world was David Sackett from McMaster in Canada. He worked at Oxford. I met him a few times. A really, really nice, brilliant guy. And he wrote a couple of articles saying that basically he thinks that experts have far too much influence. They should all shut up and be retired every 3 years, because they have too much. People pay them too much attention. In fact, although he was an expert in evidence-based medicine, said, I'm not going to write, review, lecture, or talk about this subject ever again, because people pay far too much attention to what I have to say, and they don't question me, and they just fall into line. And I think this is terrible, and it's stopping things from developing. So ironically, the one expert who should never have retired himself.
Right.
There's a catch-22 here somewhere, isn't there? But the rest of them, they love being in their positions, and they pontificate and they stomp on people who disagree with them. And I can understand human nature to do this, but by God, what we need is for people to to understand that expertise is a wonderful thing. Knowledge and expertise is a wonderful thing, but experts are very often the worst thing, especially when something new or different comes along that you need. You need to. These people should just be put in a box and said, "You're fine, yeah, okay." But that was 20, 30 years ago. We're now talking about now, all right? And now is not then. You're an expert because of stuff you learned about when you were starting off, and you spent 40 years becoming a world expert in it. Great, well done. But as Feynman said, science is a belief in the ignorance of experts, and yet we all seem to have lost sight of this somehow or other, haven't we?